One day, I will remember to come down here with a bottle opener. But that is not this day.
How to be a gamer girl in 4 easy steps.
Wait, I can do this. Step 1, play video games. Step 2, be female. Shit, that's all I've got. Is this a trick question or something?
1. Choose a gender-neutral or masculine username for your online identity.
I didn't even get number 1 right. Okay, so why is this your first piece of advice for a gamer girl?
The hordes of cisgender, heterosexual, and mostly white men you'll be gaming with are incredibly sensitive to the possibility of a female within their midst.
Listen to that disdainful way that she says hordes of cisgender, heterosexual white males. Well, just the word hordes on its own. I mean, just try changing one of those descriptors, and you'll quickly hear that presumably intersectional feminist audience switch to boos and hisses. I mean, if I was to complain about hordes of black men, that sounds pretty fucking racist, doesn't it? I mean, if I was to complain about hordes of gay men, that sounds homophobic. How about I say with the same disdain in my voice, I describe hordes of women, just women. I mean, it's misogynistic, right? Okay, well now, as for those hordes being sensitive to female gamers in their midst. So, you seem to be saying that the evil male gamers instantly notice and focus on those precious innocent female gamers, presumably focusing in a negative way. As opposed to the other male gamers, who they don't pay much attention to, I suppose. The female gamers don't have the luxury of just fading into the scenery like the males do.
And are more likely to consider you part of the scenery than a peer on the battlefield.
Oh. Oops. See, there's a good possibility that that was an intentional contradiction there, or at least a semi-conscious one. It's like those bullshit personality test readouts that say something and then take it back, so that there's always something for you to latch on to. They might say you feel shy and reserved on the inside, but you have the ability to be outgoing and social. If people want it to work, then they'll focus on the part that fits them well and ignore the rest. In this case, she talks about male gamers being very sensitive to a female gamer's presence, and then follows it up with how the male gamers won't pay any attention to you and will just consider you part of the scenery if you're a female gamer. Whether the female gamer listening has been ignored in a game before, or quite the opposite, she'll focus on the part that fits best for her. Then, when the performer goes on to explain that all female gamers have this same experience, it feels intuitively true. Otherwise, how would the performer have known exactly what that specific gamer girl experienced?
If you started gaming when you were young, naive, and starry-eyed, and have the misfortune of an unchangeable feminine username like Jigglypuff Sparkle Fairy.
Unchangeable? The fuck? Well, maybe if whatever game you're talking about gives you one username per purchase, I guess it's unchangeable for that game. But you were talking about a username that you picked out when you were young and just started gaming. One of my friends had a username, Boogers Up Your Nose, when she was young. Plenty of people had stupid shit like that as their usernames, and they changed them. I mean, despite what you say, Sparkle Fairy, these names are simply changeable. You don't have to stick with it if it's not working for you. But for the sake of argument, let's pretend that the name is stuck with you for some reason. So what's the problem with a girly screen name?
Prepare your defenses ahead of time. At the first question of your gender, tell them you are a lesbian, because in gamer jargon, lesbian is synonymous with man, and there's no room to be feminine here.
Oh, the answer to my question is no reason. I know this is a video response, and she can't actually hear my question, but when you essentially just repeat "don't tell them you're a girl" over and over, you'd think you'd give a reason for it before you move on to the next point, which she's about to do. Also, there's no room to be feminine? What games are you playing? Okay, because there's no way for anyone to stop you from being feminine if you want to. So I'll take it you're just saying that the culture on the server is not particularly feminine. So, are you playing Death Gun Splosion 8000 and wondering why no one's being particularly ladylike?
2. Become an expert in everything. Complete every side quest. Earn every achievement. Be prepared for any reference or joke, because if you're not, fake gamer girl alert!
Hey, you actually mentioned a consequence. An actual reason that you might have a problem being a girl gamer. Too bad you went through the entire first point without doing that. Also too bad that the point is bullshit. Okay. Oh, no. People will call you names relating to your gender. Yes. No shit. Everyone gets called names online. Sure, they will have to do with your gender, but that's just because that's what pisses you off. It clearly does piss you off. It works. If it was something else was a more effective way of ripping on you, then they'd use that. This is something that happens to everyone. Being female does not make you special, and it does not make you a victim.
Suddenly, that low-cut shirt you're wearing was not a choice you made because you felt good about your bomb-ass cleavage when you woke up this morning. Suddenly, you're a succubus. You're only in it for the attention.
Okay, a couple of things. One, some people really just are in it for attention. But they exist. And 2, some people will make some unfair assumptions about you. Again, this happens to everyone. Someone online recently made the assumption that I'm Jewish, possibly due to that pro-Jewish video I did. I'm not Jewish, by the way. I'm a non-Jewish Zionist. It's kind of like being a black KKK member or a male feminist. Where was I? Okay, right. Everyone gets some assumptions made about them for one reason or another, and you can just ignore them. I mean, just because the assumptions that people make about you sometimes have to do with the fact that you're female doesn't make you special and doesn't make you a victim.
Because what real gamer doesn't know that the skeleton hanging by its ankles from the ceiling of the Bjorn ice caves on the island of Solstheim in the Blood Moon expansion of the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind was obviously a Star Wars reference? Fake geek girls.
Okay, that's absurd. If anybody expects you to know that shit, that is their problem. Unless, of course, for some reason, you decide to take every negative opinion about you as some kind of oppression. Then it is your problem. Because you made it your problem. Crazy people like that have unreasonable expectations of everyone. Just because those expectations of you may or may not have made some kind of reference to your gender, say it with me, doesn't make you special and doesn't make you a victim. Good.
3. Be willing to accept the fact that you, yes, you are single-handedly responsible for the degradation of the modern-day gaming industry because you keep demanding better representation for women, even though you already have a diverse selection of skinny, scantily clad, and/or heavily sexualized white women to choose from.
Are you sure this is how to be a girl gamer and not how to be an easily triggered identity politicking cultural authoritarian third-wave feminist gamer? Because there are plenty of female gamers who are just gamers, who instead of your bullshit paranoid approach, just take my 2 steps that I mentioned at the start of this video. Also, women being too sexy in video games, you do realize that the moment that the average female gamer wants to play as a dumpy hipster with no fashion sense, the industry will provide it. Many games, if not most, are escapes, they're fantasies, they're wish fulfillment. And as much as feminists might hate it, most people's wish fulfillment, about how they look at least, includes on the list, be attractive. Somewhere on there. If you think that the industry is missing out on a big chunk of consumers that are just waiting for dumpy hipster with no fashion sense adventures, then you've hit a gold mine here. Get developing. Now, this isn't to say that I expect everyone to become a games developer, just because they see the opening. But do you really mean to tell me that with the amount of feminists bitching about this point, that there isn't a single one capable of putting this game out? Seems a bit more likely that you just kind of know that people wouldn't buy the fucking thing, doesn't it?
If you want a more feminist-friendly game, try the Mass Effect trilogy. It's full of strong female characters. Never mind the fact that the first female villain we're introduced to is presented to us with shots of her ass and tits before we ever see her face. Remember, ladies, female objectification is a myth.
Oh, objectification. I've been waiting for a chance to talk about this. Okay. It's bollocks. Absolute bollocks. Sexualization of someone could not be further from objectification. It's putting that person on a pedestal just for existing. The fact that our society sexualizes females more than males is an example of female power in said society. How the hell could you think otherwise? Women can use sex to get what they want. If men try that, well, it's generally not a great strategy. I can't believe feminists have actually convinced people that being considered desirable is some kind of oppression.
4. Get used to fear.
Oh, fear. So, this one's going to be a little bit more serious then. What's got you afraid?
Watch Anita Sarkeesian's videos criticizing misogyny in video games.
You mean the bitch who did an entire episode on video game characters that have prominent butts? Holy shit, you cannot be serious.
Watch the death and rape threats roll in.
Okay, I can see how someone would be scared by those. If they'd never heard of the internet before. I've had death threats. At one point by that same person who called me a Jew. It was an oven line. You get the idea. It was almost certainly a joke, but then probably most of yours were too, if we're honest. Now, I've had ones that were meant to scare, not amuse, but I just don't pay any attention to them. And neither should you. Just because your threats may or may not include reference to your gender doesn't make you etc.
Listen in shock as the people you game with claim Zoe Quinn only received recognition for her free online game because she slept with someone who had nothing to do with the media coverage of her free online game. Hashtag Quinspiracy. Hashtag Gamergate. Hashtag Ethics in Gaming Journalism.
Okay, I'm not going to explain the whole Gamergate conspiracy thing because that's already been done about a million times better than I could do. So instead I'll simply ask, what the fuck about this makes you afraid? Did you forget that this step was meant to be about fear? Like, how is that scary?
Watch women speak up. Watch women have their personal information revealed online. Watch women leave the industry. Start gaming quietly.
Doxing is bad, okay? If you dox people, that'd be bad, okay? But there is no evidence that women get doxed by people more than men, okay?
And make sure to keep your comments offline, because if you don't, you might be next, because after all, you are the one ruining the industry. Remember?
Nobody thinks women are ruining the industry. Plenty of people, however, think feminists are trying. People who are right. There are plenty of female gamers who take the smack from the death gun explosion servers, just like the male gamers, who dish it back out just like the male gamers, who accept that all games aren't necessarily going to cater to their personal tastes, just like the male gamers. Because in a lot of ways, there are no male gamers or female gamers, no guy gamers or girl gamers. Just gamers and entitled feminist brats who come into a space where people are enjoying themselves and expect everyone to change what they're doing and cater specifically to them. They don't say it like that, of course. They couch it in language that paints themselves as helpless victims of these evil gamers, when in actual fact they are nothing but bullies. You want dumpy hipster adventures with no fashion sense or whatever? Good for you. I want a Pokemon MMO. I mean, I'll post on forums about how I want it, and I'll even maybe sign a petition letter to go to Nintendo. If, someone's gonna start the petition. Whatever, sounds good. But I will not claim that I'm a victim who's being oppressed until the stuff that I want gets made. And I will not demonize an entire industry, consumers and all, just to get what I want. And you don't get to do this shit just because you are a girl gamer. Because as a great man once said, just because you're female doesn't mean you're special and does not mean you're a victim.